Hello and welcome everybody to the latest edition of Midweek Matters. I'm your host James Graham, joined by Charlie White as always.
Jimmy, what's doing?
Been a busy day, Charlie, as you well know.
Yeah, back to back podcasting today. You're
That's
podcasting titan, aren't you?
I don't know about that.
I'm a bit rattled, a bit flat though, because just as I came to sit down in the chair, you sort of said, "Oh, you look like you need a bit of a haircut, mate." Just as we're about to be filmed, so you've rattled me and my confidence going into the show. So if I can perform well, it's sort of a huge effort from me with the head noise.
With the head noise, yeah. You do need a fade though.
Yeah, I do need a bit of a haircut.
Why didn't you get one?
Just been a bit busy lately. Been a bit busy. Other things have taken priority over my hair.
Yeah, that's fair.
I should have worn a hat today.
We have busy lives, Charlie.
I've got some great Tooheys hats at home as well.
Yeah, you've got some great Tooheys socks as well, which you haven't given.
No, they're
Tony
at home.
Yeah, well, they've been at home for what, a month now?
Yeah, about a month. Yeah, I'll bring them in. I'm going to be bringing them in.
You chose the blue ones.
Yeah,
probably the ones I would have chose.
There's a couple of white pairs though for you and Tony.
Oh, I want the blue ones.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can have the blue ones. I'll take the fresh pair of whites.
Not a chance.
Rockbusters last week, Jimmy. There's heaps of footy to get to, but first of all, your Rockbusters from last week, what was it again?
Tyson Fury's word for penis and a breakfast that can be enjoyed, hot or cold.
And the answer to that was?
Corey, Tyson Fury, how's your Corey? How's your penis? Oats. Corey Oats.
And Wayne Lee won the T-shirt there, so we're going to post out a T-shirt to him. Is that like a Liverpool slang thing, or is that just like a Tyson Fury?
I think it's definitely not a Liverpool scouse saying it's. I think it's just a Fury thing. Maybe it's an in joke, but I've heard him say it in numerous interviews. Oh, how's your Corey?
Yeah. Well, I've got two this week. One's being given to me by a friend of the show, a listener, which I'll get to shortly. But
what do you mean given to you by a friend of the show? Because this. Like, Rockbusters consumes me.
Yeah.
It's all I think about.
Yeah, and that's good for you. But
in the comment, well, you're there in the comment. Like, what do you do when I'm at Triple M commentating?
What do I do?
Yeah.
I'm working, I guess.
Doing what?
Just bits and bobs, aren't I? Shot listing.
Mate, start looking through the team lists and looking for potential Rockbusters.
Yeah, I do a bit of that, but also at the same time, like, I think it's good to get friends of the show, involved more, get the listeners involved. And Jake Krabs has sent me a bunch. Jake Krabs, that's his name. Great name for Rockbuster. That is his name, Jake Krabs.
Well, we could do a Rockbuster on our listeners' names.
Yeah, well, we do.
Krabby.
Well, Jake Krabs is a great man, and I appreciate the ones he's sending in.
But the problem is with using the listeners, I need to gather traits from you and start to figure out how you think when it comes to Rockbusters, which I'm not going to do if Krabby is sending them.
The brilliant part about this one, James, is the one that Krabby sent in is going to be for the listeners.
Oh, that's
so the one I've got for you is a personal one. But I'll do the listener one first. And thank you, Jake Krabs. You're a great man.
Krabby.
Here's the hint. There's an herb in wine country. There's an herb.
Herb or herb.
Yeah. Why have I dropped the H there?
Yeah,
did I drop the H?
Yeah, you did. You did. Herb.
There's a herb in wine country. So that one will be for the T-shirt this week. There's a herb in wine country. Now, my one for you, Jimmy, is I've stubbed my toe. It doesn't feel great.
I actually thought you had stubbed your toe.
I've stubbed my toe. It doesn't feel great. That's a funny looking lower part of the body. I've stubbed my toe. It doesn't feel great. That's a funny looking lower part of the body.
I've stubbed my toe.
Doesn't feel great. That's a funny looking lower part of the body. I thought it was too easy. I thought you'd get it easy.
I've stubbed my toe.
Oh, it doesn't feel great. I've sort of done it your style now. I've reversed it back on you.
Yeah.
Bit of misdirection. You going to think about that while the show goes on, or you want to have a crack now?
Stub, toe, foot. Stub my toe.
Doesn't feel great.
Ow. Ouch. Oh, I'm going to have to leave that.
Have a little think about it, because before we get into the how do you feel, thanks to Tooheys as well, your great mate, one of your best mates from your footy career, Josh Hodgson's hanging up the boots.
Yes, sorry to see him have to take medical retirement. Obviously, took a chance by coming over here with the Canberra Raiders. Was arguably the best 9 in the competition for a couple of years, and comes to Parramatta, and unfortunately, just the body's just said no more. So, sad to see him hang the boots up, and wish him all the best. And I've already sent him a message. The interesting choice of photograph that he put on his Instagram to announce his retirement.
Young picture,
very young picture.
Yeah. Was he in was it like one of his first games for Canberra? It looked like
one of his England. I didn't see it.
Okay. Yeah. I think he had a little sort of the carousel flick through. Yeah,
because one's never enough.
Yeah, no.
You got to appease everybody. All the teams I've played for.
He's part of that era alongside yourself, Sam Burgess, the other Burgess boys, Gareth Widdop, that came over from England to Australia and dominated and the NRL. Is he going to go down as England's greatest ever hooker, do you think?
I don't know about that. Whether he'll go. Obviously, he came here and did an amazing job, but it'd be a big call to say England. I think he's probably England's greatest hooker that's come over here in recent memory, anyway, without a shadow of a doubt. But for Hodgie's playing ability, obviously world class, but an unbelievable person and a bloke. I spent a lot of time with him. We used to get the piss ripped out of us for going on walks through botanical gardens, but we didn't care.
Did you go on a gondola together, or you almost went on a gondola together?
No, we were going to go on the gondola together, and we talked about it and we said, mate, if anyone sees us, they'll start to think it's a bit more than teammates.
But he alongside Cameron Smith for a while, he was sort of the two of them were the best hookers in the game at one point in their peak.
Oh, mate, undoubtedly he was an amazing player, but a way better bloke. Tight as cramp, but good bloke. We're going to take a quick break from the podcast to tell you about AG1, the daily foundational nutritional drink with all your needs in the one place. I like to look after my health, and AG1 takes care of that for me. No more tablets, vitamin pills, all the health nutrition I need, all in the one place. Every single morning, it's as easy. Open up the fridge, scoop of AG1 in a glass, cold water, stir it with a fork, drink it. It tastes great, and it helps me know. It gives me the peace of mind that all my nutritional needs are taken care of, all in the one drink. It really is as simple as that. And also, anybody that knows anything about health benefits knows that it comes with adding simple routines to your day. It's not about magic pills. They're not going to work. AG1 helps me be the best version of myself by having this new habit of every single morning having that drink. I know my nutritional bases are covered thanks to AG1. A lot of athletes are now taking AG1, and with 75 high-quality ingredients, it's no wonder why. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/buyround. That's drinkag1.com/buyround. Check it out.
Let's move along to some club issues then. And your Bulldogs, they've found themselves in a little sort of drama they need to try and wrestle themselves out of. So let's do this.
How do you feel, Jimmy? Let's find out. Thanks to Tooheys.
All thanks to Tooheys. How do you feel? I feel like a Tooheys or two. And Jimmy, the place we've got to start is the Bulldogs. So the big issue this week has bubbled to the surface. It's actually something that happened about a month ago. An NRL player, sort of a fringe first grader, was late to training, and as a punishment, he ended up having to wrestle 12 of his teammates. After that session, he left and hasn't returned. He's been on personal leave ever since. So it's a big, big story. The player hasn't been named. He's contracted for next year as well. All the talk now is about the culture of the Bulldogs. Where is it? How far off are they? But just firstly, on this incident, is that sort of punishment quite a stock standard thing that you would see in NRL clubs?
Well, first off, this is what's being reported. We don't know that's actual fact, but let's assume that it is. Right. So look at the culture of the organisation. I think culture trumps talent. So if you look at the successful teams over the past couple of seasons throughout the NRL era, what they've managed to do is create successful cultures that have had 3 or 4 superstar players and, some good players around them, but fundamentally it's supplemented by fringe first graders. Like what we're seeing at the Penrith Panthers at the moment. There's some, what most would categorise as fringe first graders at other clubs have gone into that system, gone into that culture and excelled and are now an important part of it. Are they world beaters, some of these individual players? No, they're not. But this is an example. And there's Penrith, Melbourne, Roosters to an extent, Souths to an extent, of culture trumping talent. Warriors are doing it at the moment. Their culture is trumping the talent. So the Bulldogs have been languishing since about 2018, like circling around that bottom 4. Something needed to change. Cameron Ciraldo comes in. He knows what success looks like. Now, is it a cookie cutter approach from what was going on at Penrith? Absolutely not. You've got to bespoke it to the club and the individuals at that team. You want a culture that works hard but enjoys working hard as well. Like, you've got to want to enjoy it. You've got to love being there. You've got to love working hard. You've got to thrive in that environment where, I go above and beyond. And when we go above and beyond, then we enjoy how hard it is and how difficult it is. So Cam Ciraldo makes no apologies for him driving that and knowing what hard work looks like. And in terms of a punishment for being late, clubs do it differently. Like, there's no stock standard like, okay, you're late, then that means that equals you have to wrestle an X number of certain number of players, or you are late, that means it's $50 and then $10 for every minute after that. You get, we've seen players get dropped for missing a team bus. But I think, being late, like, have I been late for training before? Played for 17 years, it happened once. So has it become a habit? There's likely more to this than meets the eye, because your reputation in incidences like this, in any disciplinary matter, reputation counts and prior history counts. But for me, mate, like, and I've said this before, and I've had an experience on being late with not me but another player. I'm not going to name the player or name the club I was at, but at this particular club, like, that happens at a lot of clubs. Players would get up and give their 3 H's, their hardship, their hero, or I can't remember what the other one is, or tell a bit of a story about their journey that they've been on, where they want to go, and what it means to them, all that jazz. And this is pretty common, and it's your usual. Can get quite emotional. And this one particular player was up and was crying, telling the rest of the playing group just how much it meant to him, the journey that he's been on, and the fact that he'd do anything to play for this football club, and he'd do anything to make it as a first grader and win a comp with this football club. But that was all well and good, and everyone's crying, very emotional, support him. And 2 days later, he was late for training. So his anything didn't include being on time. And this was not a first strike. So I think for Cam Ciraldo, he's got to stand for something. The leaders of the Bulldogs have to stand for something. If they're not going to accept lateness, then the punishment happens. It's being reported that this punishment has been handed out before. And in terms of like mental health, I'm an avid supporter of that.
Yep.
We don't want to see anybody disengaged or feel excluded, but it's a fine line between like, oh, well, we're sorry that you're late and you can make excuses. But it seems like the people at the Bulldogs have had enough of excuses. They've had enough of the performances. They've had enough of people letting each other down, letting the fans down. They got to stand for something. So does this happen if you're on time? No, it doesn't. Like, I don't know the ins and outs of the case.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen if you're on time.
Well, the player hasn't returned since the incident. So obviously it's a sensitive issue, and they're on personal leave at the moment, which is, a situation we probably just can't really talk about too much about. But
sorry to interject.
No, it's all good.
Wayne Bennett. 2 things he said to us, England camp. Don't end up in jail, and don't be late. Because if you're late, you're basically saying that my time is more important than your time. Now, I'm sure that we're all late for different things and how we prioritize things, but what's the other 29 members of that squad meant to do? Just wait for you to rock up? Like, you can't prioritize training. You can't organize your day. Like, life happens, and it can maybe happen once, but if it's a regular occurrence, then, or if it's happened before, or if there's been a number of players and then the staff realise, like, hey, this is not acceptable. Like, you guys are walking in here taking the piss. Like, from here on in, if the player knew about the punishment, they can have no objection to it.
Well, that came out on Tuesday. And the other story that came out on Monday was that supposedly a large number of the players are not happy with the intense training schedule of it's often doing 8:30 to 5:30, which, I mean, for most people is just a standard working hours, an 8-hour day. As a footballer, I guess if you're a lot of doing intense training, like, you only really would want to be training like an intense level for maybe an hour a day, something like that. So there must be a lot of other stuff involved in that 8 hours.
Of course there is.
But is that an acceptable amount of time to expect footballers to be in the club area for?
Yeah. You can train long or hard, but not both. But how much of that is rest time? How much of that would be physio time? How much of that would be all the different ingredients that go to creating an athlete? Again, success leaves clues. So you think Cameron Serraldo and the rest of the staff there have plucked this out their arse or gone, let's spin the wheel, or 8, spin this wheel, 5, that's what time we finish. Like, do you think that's what they've, like, does anybody out there think that's what they've done? Like, they're doing it for a reason. You know what? Winning solves everything. Then you can go to your coach and say, then we need to turn it back. Look, there's a couple of recipes or a couple of, what's the right word? Fundamentals, I think, for football teams to succeed. Hard work and fun. And you enjoy working hard. You got to enjoy it like you do. So, if those players aren't enjoying it anymore, go see if you want to sign at Penrith or Melbourne, and see if they don't work hard and work long days. Let us know how you get on.
There is the talk about the roster clean out. Like, that's what's all coming out. The Bulldogs need to clean the roster. I don't know if they can clean the roster out more than they already are. They've got a lot of players leaving at the end of this. You got Jake Avarillo, Faramanu Brown, Jaden Ockenbaugh, Tavita Pangai Jr., Josh Reynolds obviously retired as well. And then off contract, you got Paul Alamotti off contract, Braden Burns, Kyle Flanagan, Luke Thompson, Corey Waddell. So there's a lot of players leaving anyway. And they've got players coming in with Stephen Crichton, Bronson Cherry, Jaden Salmon. So Liam Knight's come halfway through the year. So
Takiaho's come.
Takiaho. So they're recruiting. The style of play they're recruiting for, apart from Bronson Cherry, is winners that they're going after,
and people that understand what it takes.
But
because as well, there's a difference between preparing to play NRL and preparing to win an NRL game, and I don't think a lot of players get that.
But realistically, Cameron Serraldo has probably walked into the hardest job in the NRL from Penrith, and he would have had the pick of any job that became available. He would have had the pick of any job.
Yeah, I still think that despite this happening at the moment, there's a tremendous amount of upside a tremendous amount of potential there. And this is why the club give him a 5-year deal, not a 3-year deal where halfway through next year they're going, oh, what are we going to do?
But they're many years away from even contending for the top 8, I think.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, look,
so the pressure will come on, even though he's got a 5-year deal, the pressure will still come.
The pressure will come.
Because Seabolt signed a 6-year deal.
Yeah, the pressure.
Was.
Yeah, but the Broncos were a different beast.
Yeah, of course.
The
Bulldogs are a club that should expect the same success as the Broncos.
I know, but the Broncos at that time were a completely different beast, Charlie. They were. They were. I think for the Bulldogs, there's been a number of reasons as to why they've underperformed this season. If some of those things can turn in their favour, with the addition of these players that have come in, I think we'll see some positive change. But of course, it's going to take time.
Well, they've got one game to go, the Bulldogs against Gold Coast Titans Sunday. But there's so much more to the rest of the NRL season.
There is.
It's a wild race now for these last couple spots in the top 8, and
There's
also the positioning on the ladder.
And there's so many consequences from results. So looking at that first game, Broncos v the Storm.
Yeah,
the consequences of that. So Broncos win, then Penrith probably may look to make some changes.
So I worked with Michael Chamiser in the week, and he was saying that if the Broncos win, Liam Martin, Dylan Edwards, a couple other players will drop out of the team. So that's the plan for Penrith.
Yeah.
So
fair enough. Good
so
terms.
So there's implications grand final. Watch out.
Yes. Well,
but I think the Broncos do win Thursday as well. We are going to preview every game in depth, but I think the Broncos do win Thursday night.
Yeah, and if they win, they get the minor premiership. The Storm, it doesn't really matter. Panthers can't go below second. Warriors can go to fourth if
the Storm win.
Yep. And the Warriors don't win.
Yep, correct.
Storm obviously can go third. Knights can't fall below 6.
So Knights are guaranteed a home final, that means.
Yeah. So then this is where it gets really interesting with the Sharks, the Raiders, the Rabbitohs, the Cowboys, and the Roosters. The Roosters are the interesting one for me. Like, if they win, they don't necessarily play finals.
No, but yeah, they don't. They don't necessarily play finals, but I think in all likelihood, one of the Raiders or the Cowboys will lose. That's all that has to happen for them.
Yeah.
One of those two loses, they're in. And yes, the Panthers might drop a bunch of players out, but Nathan Cleary's probably still going to play no matter what. So that is an interesting one. But for me, the more interesting one, Jimmy, is the Raiders are playing for a home final or missing the 8, most likely.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a wild scenario. They can finish 5th. If the Knights lose, the Raiders they finish 5th. If they lose, in all likelihood, they probably fall to 9th and drop out of the top 8.
Yeah, it would be crazy to see Canberra drop out the 8 after being a mainstay for so long.
Yeah. For the competitiveness of finals, I really hope the Raiders do fall out. Because they've now lost Josh Papali'i for the rest of the season.
Yeah, so
Corey Horsburgh suspended.
Oh, what about that?
4 weeks, I think, because he tried to fight it, obviously lost.
Yeah, I want to see the Knights and Sharks in there. And I think the Cowboys add to it, and then Rabbitohs or Roosters.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be my...
Your ideal, so say it again.
Yeah.
So you got Sharks, Knights in 5th?
Yeah. Well,
Knights, Sharks, 5th,
Knights,
6th?
Sharks, Cowboys and Souths. That'd be my ideal for with nothing against Canberra, but like you say, without Horsburgh, without Papali'i, with the way that they've been playing. And then the Roosters, I mean, no Jared, no Manu.
Well, he's been named, Manu.
He's been named, but...
Well, I can't see him playing with a hamstring injury. They're going to give him as much chance as possible. A 6-day turnaround with a hamstring injury, really, it's minimum 2 weeks for a hamstring.
Yeah, I guess we'll see.
Part of this race, is crazy, but because the top 4's locked away, none of those top 4 teams can follow. We've seen a mass amount of resting, and this was a big issue. We've seen sort of the last couple of years. Is it an issue in your opinion? The teams resting?
Nope. It's not. And any of the solutions that have been put forward, so for example, give everybody a week off before the final.
That's what the AFL are doing this year.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm dead against that because you then give more of an advantage to the teams that finish lower down the table. I think as much advantage as possible should be given to the team that finishes first. And then second, then third, then fourth. I don't like the playoff structure. I think it should be the 1v8 system because I think that advantages the teams that finished higher. I think it's more likely that a team from outside the top four progress in finals the way the system is right now. And I think by giving everybody a week off, that freshens those people in the bottom half of the ladder.
Yeah.
And I don't think that should be given to them.
No.
And then in terms of, look, there's no magic answer for this. There's no perfect solution. But for people that argue against teams being allowed to rest, I'd rather have some people are still competing for positions in 17s. I'd rather see someone out there that's actually interested and having a dig and cares and wants to give it their all to play, rather than have players out there that are walking on eggshells thinking we're basically fundamentally
playing and not get injured.
My goal in this game is to not get injured.
And I reckon the best part about the resting thing, for me, I don't think it's a crisis at all. Like, you see it in all sorts. You see it the NBA, they rest players for weeks leading into the finals.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's part of finishing at the top of the ladder in any sport is where there's a final system, is you get that privilege. And really, it's great that Penrith can rest. It's great that the Broncos can rest. It would be the worst thing ever if Reece Walsh went out and did his MCL in the last round of the season and was out for a couple of weeks. And you miss him. Like, it ruins finals. With what we want with the finals is as many players fit as possible. And what we saw last week is we've lost half a dozen stars.
Yeah, and also there's a bit of give and take, isn't there?
Yeah.
So it's like, you want this uber competitive stars on show in round 27?
Yeah.
Or do you want everybody do you want the most amount of impact in the finals? There's got to be give and take.
Yeah.
And so what if the AFL do it?
Yeah.
So what? They can do it. They don't have Origin. They can extend their season. They don't have an international game. So it's easier for them to do. I don't think people, just give them a week off. What? And then we extend the season even further? Like, people don't get it. We are a completely different sporting structure to the AFL because we have state of origin, because we have international fixtures, which we should actually look to help grow and promote.
Yeah.
And not take a week off, because you have to pay a price somewhere. So if we have a week off going into finals, you have to pay a price somewhere. So the price gets paid with likely international or off season or pre-season. So who's willing to pay that price? I kind of like it how it is.
Yeah.
And more importantly, don't give any more advantage to the teams at the bottom half of the 8.
Yeah, that's fair enough. The only question mark around is lately the teams coming off the bye have lost. So is resting your players this time of year a net positive?
I think it is. Fresh is best this time of year.
Fresh is best. So rest or rust? Rest.
Rest.
Well, let's preview then this round, Jimmy, because you and Dan, when you were doing the commentary together on Sunday for Triple M, were calling it the greatest round. Well, it might have been you, but Dan was calling it the greatest round ever.
Was very excited about this round of football. And look, greatest round. I can barely remember what happened last round. I mean, I think going into this round of fixtures, there's some absolutely incredible games.
Yeah. Starts off with Broncos v the Storm, and if the Broncos win, Jimmy, they get the minor premiership, which you mentioned before. That both sides have rested pretty much all their key players.
Yeah, and rightly so, because they're both in the top 4.
Yeah, and this will probably be the matchup week 1 of finals as well.
In all likelihood, and again, like, people focus on who's not there, what's been taken away, but you've got. I'd rather some players that were going out there to actually try and prove a point play than watch a team play basically a game of don't get injured.
Well, you've got a couple of those players are the fullbacks. Tristan Saylor and Ryan Pappenhausen going head to head. And we're going to see Ryan Pappenhausen get the full game, which is just fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to see him back.
And your old teammate as well, Tarek Sims, is playing front row for the Melbourne Storm.
Ooh. Watch out, Tarek. What are the odds on him getting suspended in the front row? Very short with Ladbrokes, I imagine.
Very short, very short. Then Friday night, Jimmy, Manly against the West Tigers. It's Jay Trbojevich's 200th NRL game.
Yes, quite the achievement for Jake. The Tigers have been a lot better, but I imagine Manly will get up for that.
Sadly, no farewell for Luke Brooks as well. He is not going to play. The calf injuries kept him out.
Yeah. He's got his barbecue, so he'll be right.
You know, I heard a rumour that he didn't take the barbecue home.
Well, if you think about it, it is a bit of an inappropriate gift.
Well, it's an inconvenient gift because
it's like,
you need an open ute, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he's got a mate who would have a ute or something like
but
that.
it's like, I'll pick it up next time I'm back.
Yeah.
Like, when are we going to be at Combank again?
Well, I'm off to Manly now,
Yeah.
so, you know.
Can you drop it off?
You courier it to me, please.
Mm.
So you got the Manly in that one. Yep. You got Manly?
Yes, I
Yep.
do, yeah.
And then, all right, Friday night, let's talk about this game a bit more. Rabbitohs against the Roosters. Oh, it's going to be amazing. I'm going to be there, which I can't wait for. Another chapter in the Book of Feuds. No Latrell Mitchell, no Jared Rea-Hargraves. Joey Manu, at time of recording, is still playing.
The NRL could not be happier with this outcome. I think, when you see a game like this scheduled in for round 27 or at the start of the season, you kind of go, oh, well, that'll just be... They'll both be nailed on for top four.
They're probably resting. They're probably both resting.
Looking at this game, when the fixture list came out, I can guarantee everyone went, oh, well, there'll be 2 top 4 teams, so probably not that much to play for. Maybe one team will have to get the win to be in the top 4, but the other team will rest. Well, it's almost winner takes it all. Souths need to win. And as do the Roosters, but they need a couple of results or at least one result to go their way as well. Yeah, look, the finals have come a week early. It's fantastic. Really looking forward to this. I keep changing my mind on make a case for Souths, make a case for Roosters. Souths have... I'm expecting to see a big response from South Sydney, who will be boosted by Cameron Murray signing a new contract extension. That is massive news for South Sydney, especially after Eddie Jones and Rugby Australia were...
It's massive news for the NRL in general. Keep a player like him in the game. And I think it just shows that threat of rugby union that's been pumped up a lot in the media is not as big a threat as people think it is. Yes, we lost Joseph Suwali, young player, but really he had really strong connections to union, as does Cam Murray. He's got union connections with playing for Newington. But rugby league is the pinnacle of the rugby codes in Australia.
Absolutely, it is, yeah.
And to keep a guy who could be a future Australian captain, future New South Wales captain of the game is awesome.
Yeah, it is huge. Huge.
So you've got the Rabbitohs.
Just.
Yeah, I think we're in for one of the true epic contests between the Roosters and the Rabbitohs.
Right, legitimately, I'm asking this.
Yeah.
I don't expect you to answer, but can you imagine if this goes to Golden Point?
I mean, I can imagine it.
Just hold on.
It's not that hard to answer, is it?
Just hold on. Right? Just hold on. Right? Just go.
I'm imagining it.
Oh,
it's crazy.
Golden Point.
Yeah,
Who's going to win the toss?
I've imagined that. That's wild.
Imagine this.
Yeah.
It's a draw. Roosters are out. South.
Ooh. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That would be crazy, man. I'm imagining that right now. It's wild.
I hope it's not like crazy or wild. I hope it's controlled.
Controlled, yeah.
Like, imagine that if it actually went.
It's such a shame Jared Rea-Hargraves isn't playing.
I know.
And it's such a shame because it could have been his 300 if he hadn't missed the game a couple weeks before that as well. I hope because there's obviously rumours that he might not end up coming back next year. I hope that he does come back.
That's not true.
And the Bunnies, I think they win. And I think for finals, it's probably better if they win. Saturday, Arvo, then the Dolphins, incredible year. They're going up against the Warriors, who have had the luxury to be able to rest. They've rested Adam Fanua-Blake, Sean Johnson, CNK, all their top line players. Tohu Harris is injured, not being rested. He's actually in doubt for week 1 of finals, which is a big loss for them.
Yeah, it'd be a huge loss.
But SJ, Sean Johnson, he's not playing. He's probably got the Dally M wrapped up, you would think then.
Yes, but I think Ponga will be pushing him close.
Do you reckon did Ponga miss too many games with that AC injury, perhaps?
Yeah.
He would have got a lot of 6-pointers because the way the new system works, he's got 2 judges. Ponga would have got a lot of the max amount of points. I think Sean Johnson would have done too much.
Yeah,
though.
but Johnson's probably done the same.
Yeah.
Johnson probably. More than likely, yeah.
Incredible turnaround. I don't think, has he re-signed? He hasn't re-signed officially yet either, has he?
I don't think so, but he knocked back the Cowboys. I mean, sorry, the Tigers, which sort of suggests he's going to stay.
I think the Dolphins win this one, Jimmy. Do you think the same?
Yeah.
Yeah. Warriors rest everyone.
Yeah, probably actually, yeah.
And I think the Dolphins at Suncorp, they've just announced this week they've got 30,000 members, which
it's amazing.
It's a huge success.
Amazing what they've managed to achieve in such a short space of time. And they'll only be better next year. Like Flegler, Farnworth, Avarillo. It's going to be good.
Saturday, 5:30. The Panthers against the Broncos. If the Broncos win, as I said before, Panthers are probably going to rest a bunch of players. I know you've got the Panthers in this one.
I'm going Panthers. I don't think they'll want to lose 2-2.
With Luai's shoulder, are they still the premiership favourites without Luai?
I had Brisbane slightly ahead anyway.
Anyway, okay. So you've still got Brisbane then.
Slightly.
And with Luai, does that gap increase a bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then Saturday night, Jimmy, it's actually my same game multi. Dragons against the Knights. No Kalen Ponga. And as I've said every single week, they're building. The Tigers and Dragons are building to a win. And I think the Dragons probably upset the Knights.
Ooh.
I think that's a huge chance. And my same game multi, I'll just pull it up now. Dragons are actually $1.94, so it's pretty close on the betting. But I'm going the Dragons. Anytime try scorer, Bradman Best and Zach Lomax. And that one is paying $10.50. So
Nice.
Dragons Best Lomax. Titans Bulldogs Sunday afternoon. Last Sunday 2:00 game of the year. The Gold Coast Titans. Going to be beautiful weather down there, I imagine, against your Canterbury Bulldogs. Jimmy, you're a paid employee from the Bulldogs. So let me guess.
I'm tipping them.
You're
yes,
tipping
of course
them,
I am. And I'm calling that game for Triple M with
Nice.
Gordon Tallis as well.
Oh, it's a bit of a rivalry there.
A bit of rivalry, but should be a bit of interest in that one. But hopefully both teams go with the attitude to throw the ball around, which I think they will. The Titans, they play an expansive brand. The Dogs, we're being quite expansive against Manly last time out, so I'm expecting more of the same. So plenty of points in that one. Plenty.
You know what I would love to see the NRL doing games like this? Titans Bulldogs.
What would you love to
Rule
see?
changes.
Like what?
Like whatever they're considering. Trial them in those games. You know, Mitchell Moses spoke about getting rid of the bunker, you know, for games except for try scoring situations. Maybe you trial it in that game. Maybe you trial, you know. Maybe you trial field goals being worth 2 points for the whole game rather than just a 2-point field goal. Just try stuff.
I think on the bunker, I think the reason they have it in is for protect themselves against future litigation. So if you have the ability to penalise foul play and contact to the head, and lawyers would look at that and go, well, you've proven the fact that you've got the ability to deal with it and punish it, and now you took it away under the guise of entertainment or flow of the game, you might find yourself in court. And
It's not because of the big sponsorship they have with it as well. $10 million a year or whatever it is. The bunker gets its sponsorships.
From who?
SwiftX crypto.
You could be on to something, Charlie.
All right, Jimmy's tipping the Bulldogs, guys. Just remember that. He's tipped them all year. He's been right 3 times.
All right. Well, anyway.
Final game of the round, Jimmy. It's another massive one. As you said, Sharks playing for home final against the Canberra Raiders. If the Raiders lose, they could fall out. Sharks are safe because their for and against is just unbelievable. But Wade Graham's last home game at Shark Park should be a great day. Who are you tipping in that one?
So, I've got same game multi. I'm tipping the Sharks 1-12. Britton Nikora, anytime try scorer. And Ronaldo Molitalo, anytime try scorer. Juicy odds. 1-5-5-1. That's $15.51.
Wow,
Charlie.
that is really good odds.
That is really good, isn't it?
Yeah, wow.
So that's
on the Ladbrokes app as well. They just look after you there at Ladbrokes, don't they?
They
Best
sure
odds.
do. Sharks 1-12. Nikora anytime. Molitalo anytime. 15.51. Thank you.
Great round of footy. I'm so pumped. Next weekend, we're going to be talking about finals, which is
How good.
great. But Rockbusters, Jimmy.
Really looking forward to finals next week. But the finals have come a week early. And exciting.
Do you know
round of
that's the thing?
football.
A couple of things I hate. I hate when, like last week, people say the penultimate round.
Why
I
do you
also
hate
hate
it?
it when pundits say we're at the pointy end of the season.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone says it as well.
I
It's
know.
like the pointy end of the season.
Yeah.
Finals have come early. You've just said it then. It's
Yeah,
another one of
the
those-
finals have come early.
Yeah, I know, but it's annoying. It's an annoying thing to say.
Yeah,
Everyone
the
says
pointy
it.
end of the season is a bit annoying. I'll admit to that. Yeah, I'll be sure not to use that turn of phrase in the
God.
future.
Jimmy's tired, guys. He's done 3 podcasts.
Yeah,
It's a
so
hard life
come on,
for him.
what's the
The Rockbusters. So, I stubbed my toe.
I stopped doing it. I keep thinking that you've hurt yourself.
I've stubbed my toe. It doesn't feel great. That's a funny lower part of the body.
Stubbed your toe.
Doesn't feel great.
Pain.
Doesn't feel great.
Pain.
Doesn't feel great.
Pain.
Doesn't feel great. It's a funny lower part of the
Bad.
body. Anything?
Pain.
Might be.
Pain has.
Yeah, pain, and then funny ass. Pain ass.
The arse is not a lower
Arse.
part of the body.
Yes, it is. It's a lower part of the body. What would you call it?
Middle.
No, no. So the halfway mark is definitely the like coccyx. So bum is lower part of the body.
Well, you're just having lower and upper. It's midriff.
No, but midriff is the belly's your
But
midriff.
your arse is in your midriff.
Arse is lower part of the body for sure.
Bullshit. It's not.
Yes, it is. It's
It's
lower.
right. It's almost slap bang in the middle.
Slightly lower. It's slightly lower. So there's the lower and the upper.
What about the midriff?
The midriff is the belly, I
The
reckon.
midsection?
The midsection. I mean, I would consider the bum the lower part of the body.
Well,
And the one for the listeners
oh, yeah.
from my great mate Crabsy, Jake Krabs.
Crabs. That's not a real name.
Well, I can't even remember what it was now that he said, but it's a herb. Oh, no, a herb in wine country.
Okay. All right. Anyway, that just about wraps us up for Midweek Matters. We'll thank you all for listening. We'll catch you all next week.